Hi everybody, how are you guys doing today? We're doing fine. I hope you guys are doing fine as well. Welcome to episode number 2 of The Rough Cut. For the first time, we are doing this live on Twitch. So bear with us, but this should be fun,
Yes,
okay?
we decided to just go live and see how it changes the dynamic. So it might be different, but still the same show.
Okay.
I'm Robertson, by the way.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris. On the internet, you know me as Chris Writes. And without further ado, I think it's time to move into the first topic. Netflixpocalypse, cancel everything. This topic comes with the cancellation of Luke Cage, and then around maybe a week, they canceled American Vandal, and a week before that they canceled Iron Fist.
Iron Fist, yes.
So it's been a difficult week for fans of these shows because they've lost 3 shows that they really appreciated, and I would argue that these 3 shows are shows that vastly improved from their first season.
Yeah, I mean, as what you say about the fans, it is especially hard for the Marvel shows because those are shows that really had a small but solid fandom, contrary to American Vandal, which is a very niche show that it's a mockumentary about true crime shows, and it was kind of a dark horse. But it's still sad to see it go. I didn't get to see the second season, but the first season was excellent. It was really a surprise because it doesn't really start as much of a show. It's kind of silly, and then it evolves into this whole genius concept. I had a lot of fun watching it. So
I mean, to be honest, out of the 3 shows, that was probably the most well done, because I feel like although Iron Fist and Luke Cage were not bad, they had a lot of room to improve. And
right.
Even though I really couldn't get into American Vandal, I could respect its originality because it really knew how to play with the audience in the sense of, this is what's popular right now, which is true crime documentaries. And they knew how to turn that around into a very well-made comedy.
Right, it managed to collect all the tropes of true crime shows and series. I mean, from Serial up to probably the Jinx or Making a Murderer. American Vandal had all the classic tropes of the genre, and it made fun of them so perfectly. It wasn't only a mockumentary. It actually had a plot, and it could stand by itself, not just as a parody of sorts, but as a solid standalone show.
Yeah, I mean, I really couldn't get into it because when I think I got to like episode 3 or 4, and it was funny and it made me laugh, but I felt it would have been better, at least for me personally, as a shorter show. Maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes, or maybe even just one long documentary, maybe like 2 hours. Because
they really committed to
because when they did I think it has like 13 episodes. Sometimes I just couldn't find a reason to continue watching. Like, I had already laughed at the same jokes multiple times. So when the time came to be like, well, why should I see this to its conclusion? I really couldn't find a reason.
Right. Well, it is a hard show to get into. That probably had to do with its cancellation. I think not a lot of people were hopeful about the second season because the first season was so perfect and so uh, it closed the whole season arc, so there wasn't really a need for a season two. So when they came out with it, people were a bit skeptical, and I was one of those people because not only was I skeptical about a second season to a show that was already good, I was I was like I could tell that the way they were going for the second season was to it was a lot of poop humor and
Yeah,
just farts and shit, and I thought it was kind of sillier than the
the
first
first.
season.
I
So I
mean,
wasn't
you can't really get like any sillier than a show about investigating who drew dicks. Like
right.
it's.
That's I guess that's true.
I
Um,
mean,
now go ahead.
um, that's actually one of the things that turned me off the most about the second season because I remember being like, oh, it has a second season. Well, maybe this season is going to bring me in, you know. But when I
Yeah,
saw that they were investigating about shit, I was like, what? What is this?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
who even writes this?
I should say that as a first season started, I think it was last year, right?
Yeah, maybe 2016.
Right. I think, I mean, I was still in college when it started,
Okay.
and I must say that as a film student, the characters that that made the documentary in the show were just an excellent parody of just typical film students. So I think that was an aspect of the show that was highly undervalued. How they made fun of well, documentarians and film students at the
Yeah.
same time. That was always fun.
Like, I'm sure the show is full of details that I must have missed, or certain aspects that I didn't really appreciate. And maybe if I see it again with like fresh eyes, I'm gonna find it a lot better than I did on the first time. But Netflix usually has a problem with that. Like they make shows, or at least now they didn't used to. Now that I think about it, they didn't used to make shows for everybody. They used to make shows for very specific targeted, uh, like for very few people.
Right,
And
because they could afford to do that because
yeah,
they don't depend on commercials. They don't depend on ad revenue.
yeah,
So the rules that are usually accepted on traditional television, they don't apply to Netflix. Like for example, it would be it would have been very hard to make a show like Master of None on say ABC, for example,
yeah,
or NBC, or those traditional uh, networks, because the audience for those shows are, they can be rather small, um, and that always gives the advertisers some uncertainty, and with Netflix, I mean, you don't really have to depend on commercials. You get your money either way because it's
mm-hmm,
based on subscribers.
yeah. I mean, um, up to a point, they still certainly do make targeted content because a show like Maniac isn't really trying to make your grandmother see it. You know,
Yeah.
like it's appealing to a very specific kind of people. But even then, those small shows that are for a targeted audience usually have a huge name behind them. That's what makes
Yes.
it, people want to watch them. Because if they had made Maniac with any other director or creator other than
Fukunaga.
Fukunaga, no one would have cared because it's just a weird and crazy show. But in
Or
this,
the actors too. I mean,
or
Emma Stone and
or the actors,
John
yeah,
Hamm.
and Justin Thoreau, I think it's his name.
He's there, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been watching. I haven't finished the show. I'm enjoying it. I have to admit, I don't understand a lot
I
of
mean,
it.
I'm gonna be honest. I tried to watch it and I could barely make it past 25 minutes. Like
it's
it was hard to
it's very
watch.
it's very layered, and it's just very reminiscent of early Terry Gilliam movies, and just I think my favorite aspect of the show is the world building
Yeah.
of it all. Um, Fukunaga and the writer, they really created this whole. It feels like an alternate universe. It's not the future, but it's not the past, and it's definitely not the present.
Okay.
Um, so I think that's that aspect I do find fascinating. The plot, I mean, I watch it and it's entertaining, but I'm not dying to know what happens on the next episode. But yeah,
Up to a point, I actually kind of found it boring. Like,
I get that.
I don't know what I was expecting to get from Fukunaga because after watching True Detective, that doesn't really give you a perspective into his work. Like, if you watch True Detective and then you come into this expecting to see the same thing he made before, you're gonna be super disappointed. Like, it's not even remotely
Right.
close.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those people that like just before Maniac came out, they made a profile about him on the New York Times, and
Yeah.
one of the things he mentioned is that he doesn't like to do the same thing twice. So every work he does has to be completely different from the previous one, and that's definitely the case with Maniac. It's not at all like anything from him.
I mean, he got fired from it, which was very unfortunate, but I'm not gonna say it was necessarily bad because I really enjoyed what the new that director did with the film.
Yeah.
But seeing his work, oh, and after that he made, if I'm not mistaken, it came after Beast of No Nation, which was also
Yes.
with Netflix.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that movie was great. I'm not gonna say that it was bad because it wasn't. It was a great film, and it was as close as Netflix was gonna get to getting an Oscar for a film. Um, and then the Academy invented that bullshit rule, but we're not even gonna get into that.
Yeah. That's a whole other issue.
That's a whole other thing. But
Um,
his work has been very varied since True Detective, and I don't know. I'm just always excited to see what he does because I enjoyed his work so much that I was really excited to jump into this series because I remember when it was announced, I was on board, but I expected it to be, and this is probably very stupid of me, but I expected it to be more like Manhunter than how it is Maniac. You know what
okay.
you know what I mean? Like I thought the show would have that kind of theme, that kind of storyline. But then when I read what it was about, I was completely uninterested. But then I saw the teaser and I was like, oh wait, that seems kind of cool. But then I started watching it and I got bored as fuck.
I think uh, the show is. I think that it is a show that represents. It's very. It really represents the state of streaming television
Yeah.
right now, because it's almost a metaphor for the whole system of how Netflix works. And by what I mean by that is that um, after the second episode, you start to see like these fantasies or dreams by the characters, and every episode takes place. Like for example, one takes place in the 80s, and it's they have a whole plot in the 80s. Another episode takes place in the 1930s, and Jonah Hill and Emma Stone play like a couple of thieves or something. So every episode is like its own thing, but they're all connected, and it's almost a commentary on anthology shows. I'm sure it's an interpretation that will come up a lot when people finish watching the show, because I'm sure that a lot of people haven't finished. And it reminds me of another popular interpretation about Fukunaga's work, which was how True Detective was about well, series in general, TV shows. Right. So a lot of critics pointed out that the whole time is a flat circle thing
Yeah.
on True Detective was about the show being literally on a flat circle, which was a DVD disc. And it was like this whole metaphysical interpretation of True Detective. It gathered a lot of traction because it really seemed plausible, and it was a fascinating reading on True Detective. And I think it will be a similar case with Maniac, but instead of being about the nature of TV shows and physical media, it will be about streaming and anthology shows. So it is a fascinating concept, but I think it could have done a better job on execution, because it's not very engaging, and
Okay.
that's why I understand that. I get that you couldn't get past the
I
second
mean,
episode.
now that you explain it that way, maybe I should give it a second chance. But
You definitely should. I mean, you shouldn't be like you shouldn't watch the show uh, as how do I put this?
like as entertainment, I shouldn't be watching it to pass the time.
No, I think actually no. I think you probably should watch it very relaxed, not like trying to follow everything that happens on the show, because it's too much, and it probably won't make any sense. So just watch it and just accept whatever it's coming. But definitely watch it, because it is an interesting show that it's nothing like anything that has ever come before.
Okay. I mean, yeah, maybe I'm gonna give it a second chance at
But
some
we
point.
digress. We were talking
Yeah,
about
we're completely
the cancellation.
off topic, but that's perfectly fine.
I was gonna ask you.
Mhm.
I know you didn't watch a lot of American Vandal, but I understand that you did watch Luke Cage. So what are your thoughts on its cancellation? Like, how do you feel?
Honestly, I'm very surprised. I'm very surprised that they canceled Luke Cage because the second season was very good. Like I mentioned in our previous video, one of the main problems with Luke Cage was that he just never had anybody who could match him. And
Right.
whenever he was launched into a plot point or into a battle, you didn't really feel like he was in any danger. And they didn't make a villain that was worthy of fighting him until like episode 8 or something crazy like that. So you went through more than half a season without fearing his vulnerability. And
Right.
on the second season, they tackled that head on. They brought a new villain, and the actor was amazing. By the way, he really did a good job. Like I felt like his character was very believable, and at some points, I even preferred him over the main hero, like what happened with Killmonger in Black Panther.
Like
So
Black Panther.
yeah, like the way you liked Killmonger more than the Black Panther.
Oh, okay, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Killmonger.
yeah.
I blanked. I confused Killmonger with the other guy, the bad guy from Jessica Jones. What's his name?
Killgrave.
Kilgrave, right? So
Yeah,
I totally confused those.
very similar names, but completely different characters
Yep,
played by
yep.
completely different people. But
So who do you know who was the bad guy? The actor's name on Luke Cage season 2?
let me look it up real quick.
Because I'm asking because I didn't watch the show, and
The actor is
Uh,
called. Okay, Luke Cage. Luke Cage, season 2, IMDb. That's not a promotion for IMDb at all. We are not advertised by IMDb. Oh man, what the fuck was that guy's name? Num num num. Oh yeah, oh wow. I'm gonna try to pronounce this as best as possible. His name is Mustafa Shakir. He played the character called. Bushmaster. Yeah, that was the name of the villain. It was like a mob boss from, I think it was Jamaica,
okay.
or Haiti. I'm not sure. And basically, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen Luke Cage season 2. He's a character who is able to obtain the same powers as Luke Cage through the use of an herb. Like, he takes an herb called Nightshade, which is apparently in the Marvel universe. The Nightshade is a mythical herb that is able to give you superpower and super strength and invulnerability for a temporary period. But the more you take the Nightshade, the weaker you become, like your physical body. So on the second season, they brought this guy, and he was able to fight Luke Cage, and you really felt like there was something in the show. And they also added an overall theme as the city was continuing to be destroyed by crime, which is a very up-to-date topic with our times, because usually the poorer sections of society tend to be more crime-ridden. So the show really tackled that. They show Hell's Kitchen and Brooklyn and Harlem, specifically Harlem, which is where they are. They showed it as a community that was not only struggling to survive through the villains and the heroes and all the destruction, but through the poverty and the crime. So it was really good. Like, I really enjoyed this season. I don't know why
Was it better than the first?
Yes, it was definitely better than the first season, although I will defend the first season because those few episodes where, oh god, what is his name again? The guy that's gonna play the next True Detective. What is his name? Ali. Cottonmouth. Okay, he played the character Cottonmouth, and the actor is Mahershala Ali.
Mahershala.
Yeah,
Of course. Yes.
he was amazing. Like he literally sold me on the season. Like, I was completely on board as long as he was in the show, and then like 5 episodes in, they fucking kill him. So I was very angry when that happened, and maybe he was too expensive. But back in those days, he wasn't that famous, and I guess his character dies in the comic probably. But he really should not. They really should have fought that or something. Like, he really should have stayed in the show because he was really good. Like, he was the best part of the whole show. Anyway, I was really surprised that they canceled Luke Cage because it deserved more time on the service, because it was a show with a lot of potential, and it had a huge fandom, like way bigger than Iron Fist.
Iron Fist.
I would argue. And one comment that I read that I kind of want to bring up is the fact that Netflix canceled their 2 shows with the most diverse cast. and people were arguing whether or not that was going to affect them as a streaming service. And I kind of feel like it does. They also canceled, I think they canceled 7 Seconds.
They did.
Yeah, they did cancel it, which was also a huge show in the African American community, and I think it even won an Emmy. So
I have no idea.
so yeah, they're making some weird decisions.
I think eventually it will affect them, but not in the way that people think, because Netflix is a company that cares a lot about the national conversation around its shows, and that kind of that kind of criticism about diversity can eventually have some. It could make people lose some interest, or they don't. How do I say this? Netflix, because they didn't used to cancel a lot of shows like they're doing now. People felt safe when they started a season, because they knew that it was gonna stay on. But because they're canceling more shows, then people are gonna be more skeptical from now on when they start a season of something new, which is new shows is a big well, it's something that draws a lot of viewers for Netflix. They produce the things that other people don't. So it could affect them in that way.
I mean, I don't blame people for getting angry when Netflix cancels things. Like, I follow Netflix on Twitter, and that's also another topic that we gotta bring up. Like, Netflix social media is wild. That shit is crazy. I've never seen any other company use social media like they do. And whenever you go into any thread involving Netflix on Twitter, you're going to find hundreds of people either begging them to save X or Y show that got canceled on TV, or begging them to bring back a show that they canceled on Netflix. And it has become almost annoying to think that Netflix has become the savior of shows, because I don't know when that happened. They bought, like, maybe in total, how many shows have they actually saved? Maybe like 5? Like,
not a lot.
Shows that they took from television and then they revived. It's been very few. And I don't know when people got this idea that Netflix is just gonna buy everything, because that's what they do. But in reality, they're still a company that needs to make money. And if what you're watching is not really bringing in the audience, then it's simply not going to be on the platform anymore.
Right.
But it kind of still hurts, because people binge everything that's on.
People binge. That's
Like, they binge the shows in like a day or two, and then you gotta wait like a year, maybe 2, sometimes even 3 for something that you saw in like 2 days.
Yeah.
And then when it gets canceled, it's like you're getting punched in the face.
I agree. I hated it when it happened on traditional TV networks, and I hate it now. But so far, a show that I enjoy hasn't been canceled by Netflix. I mean, you could say American Vandal. I did like American Vandal first season, but because I didn't watch the second season, I wasn't too attached to the whole multiple season thing with American Vandal. I do, I hate it. I don't like when, like, if I know a show is canceled, I don't even bother.
I don't watch it either. Yeah. They are getting much faster with these cancellations, though, because American Vandal season 2 barely came out 3 months ago, and that's probably an exaggeration, because
it was a similar case with Iron Fist, right?
Yeah, when they literally threw Iron Fist Labor Day weekend. People saw it. It got a lot of hype on Twitter, and then they canceled it. There's a theory that maybe Netflix is canceling both Iron Fist and Luke Cage because they want to join both shows under a new show called Heroes for Hire, and my camera died. Oh, because I ran out of battery. Okay, be right back. I need to connect my camera.
With the case, with Netflix in particular, something that has been mentioned by a lot of critics and media analysts has been the fact that Netflix usually greenlights a first season, and that first season is the equivalent of a pilot in traditional TV networks. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the cancellations by Netflix happen during a show's second season, because that's truly
And
what
we're
they
back.
know. Oh, hi.
Hello. Keep going.
You're out of focus. You're good. So what was I saying? Right. So the second season of a show in Netflix it's truly the when they know if they're going to be canceled, because the first season is like a pilot. It's to see if the show connects, and they had the means to produce usually a 12-episode season or so. And then if it doesn't do well, then they cancel it on the second season. I think that's the explanation behind Luke Cage and Iron Fist and American Vandal. I mean, Luke Cage, yeah, they all had a second season.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
That's
Where I was going with my thought before my camera died is okay. There's a theory going around on the internet about the cancellation of both Luke Cage and Iron Fist, and people think that they are simply going to lower the budget and reduce both shows into one singular show called Heroes for Hire, based on the Marvel comic of the same name, which is a comic in which both Iron Fist and Luke Cage join together and, defend the city and whatnot. But it's definitely a possibility, especially with the suggestion that they said that the characters may make a future appearance. It's definitely a possibility. I wouldn't hold my hopes up because they're probably just gonna reduce it to just Marvel the Defenders, which is still
right. I think so too.
Which is still, on the fence, because we have no idea if they're going to confirm another season of Jessica Jones. It might even get canceled as well and simply just reduce all 3 shows into one singular show, which is honestly not bad. Like, I think they should do that. I honestly think they should reduce all the shows into one show. Maybe not Daredevil because it's the most popular, although I'm gonna be honest, I'm watching the 3rd season and I kind of hate it. But that's another topic for another time. So if they were to cancel all the Marvel shows and put them under one, Marvel the Defenders, they would save a shit ton of money, or the other way around, they will be able to spend more money on one singular thing and make it better. But I'm not sure where they're going with this. I definitely am starting to get the vibe or the feeling that Netflix is trying to target a more younger audience, and I say that because they have found a lot of success with shows aimed at the youth. For example, with the movie To All the Lovers, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, yes. To All the Boys I've Loved Before, with 13 Reasons Why, with the movie Sarah Voorhees is a Loser, I think is the name. You can even include Stranger Things in there, which is aimed at the youth that never lived
Definitely.
through the 80s and want to feel like they did. But that show God, that is a toughie. Could arguably be sold to any audience. Like that one, I will say that even your grandma can see it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just that's been another theory of sorts that has circulated the news of the cancellations. The fact that because Disney is soon gonna come out with their own streaming service, they are gonna have that. The theory is that Netflix has to compete now, or it's gonna have to compete with the Disney streaming service, and they might have there might be some conflict in terms of Marvel being a Disney property and
Yeah.
Netflix having the shows. Who knows? That might be the case. Netflix has denied that kind of speculation because they basically said that they take the decisions to cancel these shows. That doesn't have to do with Disney being a streamer now. Again, who knows? I don't.
I mean,
think it's the case.
I really wouldn't put it past them though. Like, in all honesty, I expect anything and everything from Disney. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they suddenly decide to fight them on contracts or on the validity of their exclusivity when it comes to Marvel shows. Like, it honestly would not surprise me because everyone saw that coming when they announced that they were making their own streaming platform. And this whole streaming wars of who has the best shows, who has the best content, who buys the movies faster, who gets the better contracts, is honestly becoming really exhausting. Because the whole point of this streaming mumbo jumbo was to cut the cord, to not have to pay for cable, and that was wonderful. But then all of a sudden you have a streaming platform for horror, a streaming platform from Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, YouTube, Disney.
And you end up paying the price of a cable package or something.
Like if you subscribe to all of them because you love all the content from all the networks, you suddenly find yourself paying the same thing you would pay if you would just see it normally.
Right.
And honestly,
you have to pick and choose very carefully the streaming services that you want.
The best thing that people usually do is just pay for a family plan and share it with a bundle of people, which is perfectly reasonable, and you can get it at a good price if you do that. But even the companies have spoken against that. They've said that family plans are meant for families, but it's too expensive. We're fucking broke, okay?
Yeah, we made it worse. The internet was a mistake once again.
Delete.
But what is not speculation is that Netflix is indeed, for whatever reason, doesn't have to do with Disney, but for whatever reason they are truly trying to produce more kid-friendly content of sorts, and that's a perfect transition for our next topic, which is the announcement that Netflix is going to make a Pinocchio adaptation with Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
Which is, I think it's great news. It is, I don't know how kid friendly you can get with Guillermo del Toro, but still.
Yeah, that's actually. I mean, he's already making kid friendly content for Netflix.
That's true.
He
Yeah, that's true.
has Troll Hunters, which has won multiple awards. I think it's won a lot of Emmys, mainly creative Emmys, but they still count. Okay, they still count, and it's huge. Like whenever they launch a season or whenever they launch merch, my Twitter feed is just flooded with people who are just hyped about Troll Hunters, and
Right.
it's mainly like grown-ups, which is kind of hilarious.
Yeah,
And
I have to say I watched the first episodes and I did enjoy it. So there's that.
I've been meaning to watch it, but I don't know. I don't know how I'm feeling about kid-friendly shows right now, because I tried to see the Dragon Prince because it was from the same people who made the last Airbender, and I was into the show and I was into the story. But what killed it for me, and this is on a technical aspect, bless you, on a technical aspect, the show, they recorded it in 3D. Okay, it's flat animation, but it's 3D flat animation, and
Okay.
they recorded it in 30 frames. So it's really choppy, like really, really choppy. And I tried to see it, and I got to like 4 episodes in, but my eyes couldn't take it anymore. And my eyes usually don't notice those kinds of things. So if I notice, it has to be bad, okay? Like it has to be really bad for me to focus on it. And if they had gone like, I mean, maybe this is like on Netflix for not giving them maybe the budget that they required. But if they had gone with 60 frames, it would have definitely been more fluid. It would have been a lot better than it was.
I agree.
But I haven't seen that many people complaining. I've only seen a few that agree with me. So maybe it's like maybe I'm nitpicking. But anyway,
Okay, so to give a like a general view of the announcement, it came from Variety, and it basically said that it's gonna be an adaptation by Del Toro. It's gonna be co-written and co-directed by Del Toro, and it's what I found interesting is that according to Variety anyway, it's gonna be a stop motion musical adaptation, which sounds right, in Del Toro's wheelhouse. Um, having him just come out of The Shape of Water,
yeah,
which was sort of like a Shape of Water is an interesting movie because it had the cinematic language of a musical, but it wasn't really a musical, and he used a lot of classic Hollywood musicals as inspiration for the movie. So he definitely has the research and the knowledge to make this kind of adaptation of Pinocchio. But then again, I don't think he has worked on stop motion before, has he?
I don't think
I
so.
mean, maybe for special effects or something, but not a whole movie.
Yeah,
Um,
or at least not a whole movie that we've seen after he became famous. Because maybe he did in his days as a student, but
right,
maybe not as commercial work.
right, and I mean, I'm not doubting that he's gonna be incapable of doing it. He definitely will be because he's just a hardcore cinephile,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah,
and
I'm sure it's gonna be really amazing. Like I
it's gonna.
I wasn't that on board when I first heard the announcement, but then I read the article, and it's going to be based in a time of crisis, like the same way. Um,
Right, it's gonna have the it's gonna take place in Italy in the 1930s.
yeah,
With the rise of the
Dictator.
fascism
Yeah.
by, in that area at least, Benito Mussolini, which is, it's not, it's gonna be like a, that's gonna be like the backdrop of the story, which is not at all uncommon or unfamiliar for Del Toro, having made Pan's Labyrinth and
That was Backbone
Devil's Backbone, yeah, which both take place
in
with
Spain. Hmm.
Franco dictatorship of Spain as, that uh, background, just a spatial background. It puts the whole story in context. Um, so that this sounds like it's going to be a similar case, which I'm excited about. Um, he has the experience to treat these kind of subjects and context, social context. Um, and I'm sure it's gonna be creepy and fun, like all Del Toro's work.
Yeah. I like I said, I wasn't very excited, but when I read the article and I read that it was going to be under fascism, and when I read that it was going to be stop motion, I actually am really excited now because I want to see how Del Toro's vision adapts to stop motion. Like
Yeah,
that's going to be great. Um, but like I said, or like we both said, I don't know how kid friendly this is going to be, because if it wasn't based under fascism, maybe you could be like, it's gonna be nice and kid friendly, but I don't know.
well, something, an aspect that I love about Del Toro's work is that he makes sort of um, family friendly, at least, movies, and they can be seen by kids, but because he doesn't, they're fantastical films, and they do have some,
Sorry.
rated R elements and whatever. Um, but they're fantastical films, and they are kids friendly. But what I like about Del Toro is that he doesn't treat the younger audience
Like they're stupid. Yeah.
like they're stupid. Yeah, he treats them with maturity, and his movies explore themes that are familiar to kids, but they're not. They're kind of dark. They're things that eventually kids will have to deal with, and that to me, I think that's what this adaptation is gonna be. It's gonna be family friendly, but still dark in terms of sentiment and probably plot. Um, so yeah, I'm in. I mean, it also, another aspect I forgot to mention is that he's gonna co-direct the film, because the stop motion uh, aspect of it all is gonna
Hmm.
be directed by one of the directors of Fantastic Mr. Fox, the Wes Anderson
Oh,
movie,
really?
which has beautiful stop motion animation. So that makes it even better. That I forgot his name. I think it's let me see. His name is Mark Gustafson, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Probably butchering the fuck out of it, but
Probably,
but
but
that's
still.
perfectly fine. That's what we do here on the rough cut.
So that guy co-directed Fantastic Mr. Fox with Wes Anderson, and now he's gonna co-direct Pinocchio with Del Toro. So, like I said, that's an even better, incentive for me to see this movie, because it's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, and yeah,
go ahead.
no, I was just, we were talking at the beginning about Del Toro's relationship with Netflix and Soul Hunters. According to Variety, he's also working on like an anthology show for Netflix, which is called Guillermo del Toro presents 10 After Midnight. I don't know what it is about, but he clearly has a special or a close relationship with Netflix, and I'm sure they're gonna be they're gonna let him do his thing,
I mean,
basically.
that sounds a lot like Hitchcock Presents,
Yeah, definitely, and yeah,
which kind of makes me excited for it. I hope it's good because Netflix is starting to create horror content, which is very good. Like I said in the last episode, A Haunting of Hill House is very good. I recommend it to everybody. Just
I've been watching it. I haven't finished it
be prepared
yet.
to, get a little bit emotional because it's definitely an emotional show, but the show is very, very good. And I've read that the Adventures of Sabrina just came out, and people are really excited for it. I've read very good things. I saw around 10 minutes of the first episode, and then I had to go. It's not that I didn't like it; it's just that I had other stuff to do. But I'll definitely.
I actually watched the first episode, and I liked it. I mean, it is a very well made show, and it's written, sort of, it's funny, but it's dark. It's the kind of thing that you expect from that, from the comics, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not my kind of show because it deals, with a lot of young characters and school life, and that's it. I can recognize that it's a good show. It's just not for me.
Okay, fair. But I've also read that they did not go easy on the scare. Like, maybe you really can tell that on the first episode because I couldn't either. But apparently, it's a pretty scary show and it's pretty gory. Like, when they
You mean
said,
Sabrina?
yeah, when they said they were going to make it darker than people were used to, they definitely meant it. So I don't mind them moving into into a horror oriented style for a while because that's definitely something that Netflix was lacking. Like they didn't have any good horror besides maybe
Right.
one or two films that they didn't make.
Yeah, their horror library were mostly straight to DVD,
Yeah, like really bad
B
B
movies.
movies that some people love, but I personally don't like. But that's just me. But
Right.
anyway, I'm really excited to see what else Netflix is making with Guillermo del Toro. And that also brings me into like something that is kind of doesn't have to do with this topic, but I kind of want to bring it up. Is the fact that Netflix is spending or investing is the better word a lot of money on huge names. Like they took Ryan Murphy, they took
Right.
Shonda Rhimes, they have Guillermo del Toro now, they have Soderbergh with Mindhunter, right? No, wait,
No, that's Fincher.
that's Fincher. Same
But they
thing.
have Fukunaga.
Just kidding. It's not the same thing. Don't get triggered. And they have really huge names of really talented people, and some of these deals were huge, like money wise. I think Ryan Murphy signed a $300 million contract, and Shonda Rhimes had one just the same. And I think they also took the creator of Blackish, which is also a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Let's not forget the Dave Chappelle contracts, which were huge too, for like only two stand-ups. He got a lot of millions. I don't remember the exact number, but it was a lot of money. So,
Right.
you know, Netflix is not looking like the streaming service they used to be. They're more and more looking like an actual television show studio, yeah. Which is
Yeah, I mean, I kind of suspected that they were gonna get all of these people once they got Adam Sandler, because I'm joking. I don't know. I don't understand why they got Adam Sandler on the contract.
of course.
He's making so many movies, and he's back in doing stand up or something for Netflix.
Yeah,
now.
he actually did a stand-up. I don't remember what it was called because I'm not really that interested. Because
Of course.
I mean, but he's not the only one making shitty movies there. Like they have Kevin James too,
Oh no, yeah.
and those movies are fucking terrible. and they're also making movies with Russell Peters, I think it's his name, and they're terrible too. Like I have no idea who are these even made for. Maybe
Russell Peters, is that a stand-up comedian?
yeah, he's the Indian stand-up comedian.
Oh, okay. He's the one from he's on Source Code, the movie Source Code.
Really? I don't remember
Yeah,
him.
he's there on the train. That's the only thing I know him from.
I mean, his stand-up is great. I actually enjoy his stand-ups a lot. But whenever people transition into film and they've never really done it before, it's always a rough start. But that's not to say that Adam Sandler has not made films before. He's made dozens, and some are better than others. One of them being considered one of the best comedies of all time, which is Funny People. Just kidding.
Right.
It's a Boy. It's a Boy is a masterpiece.
I haven't seen it.
It's a Boy is garbage. Okay.
You know, I want to go back to Del Toro for a moment
Yeah.
because I forgot to mention that he's not only co-directing the movie with the guy from Mr.
Fantastic,
What was it?
Mr. Fox.
Fantastic Mr. Fox. I was going to say Mr. Fantastic.
Mr. Fantastic.
He's also collaborating with the Jim Henson Company. I'm guessing that it's for set design and the puppets and the the stop motion tools and whatever. Which is they're a legendary company, of course, funded by Jim Henson. So they really do have a really strong team for this movie. I mean, it's kind of overkill. You have the guy.
Maybe the bar is too high.
Yeah, maybe we're bound to be.
Is there really such a thing as too much hype?
Too much talent. But anyway, I'm happy for it. And Guillermo, he made a statement saying that he has been wanting to make this movie for a long time, because it holds, to him, is a story about fatherhood and how you can understand your father in a way. I'm guessing the movie will treat we'll explore that aspect of the story, because that's what's emotionally closer to Del Toro. But yeah, I'm hyped. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it honestly should be very good. Like, there's no way this movie is going to be bad, and I probably just jinxed it and it's gonna be awful.
Yeah, Netflix gonna drop it.
But in all honesty, there's just no way. The people involved are way too talented, and Guillermo cannot do wrong. Like, I've never seen him go wrong on anything. Even his worst work is great. Like, people like to criticize Crimson Peak, but fuck all y'all. You're a bunch of haters. That movie's great. And
It's not.
but yeah, that about wraps up our thoughts on Guillermo del Toro and Pinocchio. Although I will say that Pinocchio is my least favorite Disney movie. Like, I couldn't give less of a shit about Pinocchio.
Pinocchio I remember the movie making me sad when I was a kid.
It is very sad.
Yeah, I don't particularly remember it with fondness.
Oh God! Now that I think about it, this movie's gonna be so sad. Jesus Christ! It's gonna be the saddest movie he's ever made, and we're just gonna have to bear with it because I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching The Rough Cut episode 2. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. You can find our handles below our webcams. Join our Discord so you can join our discussions and you can talk about the show. And make sure to follow us on both Twitch and subscribe on YouTube to receive notifications for when we do our shows, okay? So once again, thank you guys so much for watching, okay?
Thank you guys.
Bye.